Today I'm going to try and do something a little more representational from the colour mixing that we did yesterday. So I'm going to look at some basic tree painting. Now, I had a question yesterday regarding brushes and water control. So it really does depend on what brush you have, how much water you will have in the brush, how much water they hold. So if you have something like a hake, like this, which is a goat hair brush, it's designed to absorb an awful lot of water. So it's brilliant for big washes, but not so good if you want to control the amount of water you're putting down. So if you've got something like these synthetic brushes, these are Pebeo brushes as it happens, but they're a synthetic brush and they don't hold quite so much water. So you have a little bit more control. So I'm just going to put these aside. This is the one I'm going to use today. This is a number 8 round. It has a nice point on it for giving me some detail, but it's got a nice chunky body, so I can pick up a reasonable amount of paint. Now I'm going to use the same colours I started off with yesterday, so if you've got your lemon yellow, your rose, your ultramarine, or like me I've got the primrose yellow, the ultramarine and the quindichrome magenta, that's absolutely perfect. I'm going to add one extra colour in today. I'm going to be using a neutral tint green shade, which is this one here. It doesn't have to be the green shade neutral tint, it could be Payne's grey, it could be neutral tint, it could be neutral tint green shade. But it's great for adding shadows into foliage, so it's a good one, and it's also a good one for mixing greens. You'll see when we start putting the colours together. So that's where I'm at. The other thing about controlling water, when I wash my brush, it always goes onto my cloth. So I'm always wiping excess water away. It rarely goes straight from there down to here because it's just too much in there. So I'll be forever just dabbing my brush down. I'm starting off, I've got my primrose yellow, or like I say, your lemon yellow. And I'm going to add a touch of my ultramarine. I want this to be a nice vibrant green. And I'm going to start doing the foliage. It's just a very generic tree, but I'm using kind of the side of the brush, so I want some bits where I don't cover. Now, the thing to remember when you're painting trees is what they say is leave room for the birds to fly through. So I'm still using this nice, vibrant, bright green. This is only a small tree that I'm painting here. Like I say, you can see I'm painting in the direction of the sort of fall of the branches. Now I'm going to add some of my neutral tint, the neutral tint green shade, and this just adds some dark in there. And now my paint is still wet, so I can just drip it in and it will just spread a little bit. It just adds some shadow into my tree. You saw there I just dipped it off on my cloth because I had too much moisture on there. Clean my brush. Let's come back in with my lighter green a little more. I've left plenty of gaps for the birds to fly through. So this is the crown of the tree. If you start by painting the trunk, what normally happens is you end up with a tree too big, or you can see the trunk through it. It just doesn't seem to work as well. So I tend to do this crown first. Then you come in, we put a bit of a trunk in at the base. Just follow it up, and where there's a little gap, we'll put a bit of that trunk visible. Let's have a branch that comes up through here. Let's have one coming up through this area, bit coming up. So I'm just using the tip of this beautiful little brush. So there we've got our generic little tree. Let's just ground it. Just add a little bit more of this shadow colour. Make that shadow a little stronger. So there we have a generic tree. Oh, it's difficult, isn't it? It's knowing when to stop fiddling. Stop fiddling, Denise. Walk away from the painting. So we've got that as our generic summer tree. Okay, so now I want to move on to a winter tree. So just make up a bit more of this lovely browny colour. So when you're painting a winter tree, I start with my brush. I'm still using the same brush, and I put the brush down on the paper, and I'm going to gradually pull it up, and as I pull it, I'm lifting it off the page. So my line is getting thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner. I ground my tree, and I come back in and I do another branch, and as I do it I'm starting to do twiddling. Now, twiddling is doing this at the top of your brush. And we're going to start adding a few little bits that cross over. If you don't have them crossed over at all, it can look very 2D. There's usually one or two low down branches. Again, let's just put a bit of shadow down on one side of this. Just vary the colours of my branches a little. Again, continuously wiping my brush off on the cloth to control that water. And the secret to these is less is more. So I'm just going to put a little bit of contour on there, but I'm not putting any more branches in. We've got a generic woodland tree. So have a little practice. Have a little practice with that twiddling. Let me just give you a single twiddle. So you put your brush down. I'm letting the weight of the brush be all that's on the paper. And I bring it along, and I'm just rolling it backwards and forwards between my thumb and forefinger, gradually lifting it off the page, and you get those little notches and nicks. You're never quite sure what's going to happen, but it can look quite natural. Okay, so the next thing I want to look at is distant trees in a field. So I'm going to take my ultramarine and just put a little bit of the yellow in there. This has got to be quite a bluey mix. When you're painting trees in the distance, The yellows and reds are the colours that disappear from your vision first, so if you paint a distant tree more blue, it looks more like it's further away. This time I'm using the flat brush here, and I'm going to use the corner of it to give me triangles. So I'm just pressing that down just to give me these roughly shaped triangles, which will give me that sense of trees in the distance. The biggest mistake I tend to find making people, they kind of make them stripy rather than these triangles. So what you do is you put the corner of the brush on the paper first and just press into it, and that gives you the triangle. And then we're just bringing that down to a level ground. Next I'm going to make my green a little stronger, so I've added some more yellow into that. And I'm just going to make my trees a bit bigger. Oh, I need my paint a bit stronger. We were talking about water control. There you go, I've got too much water in there. So we've got these bigger trees. Let's have some shadows going on into those. There we go. Have our neutral piece of land here. Show the classic furrowed field. Bit more detail on these ones that are a bit closer. There we go, we've got a little field with some trees at the background and a hedgerow at the side. There's lots of things you can do with all of this. I'm just going to take my dry brush, just lift some paint out as well, just to exaggerate those furrows. So there's a few ideas there for playing around with trees, looking at how we can get some foliage into the distance. I hope you have a go. Please post your images below of what you have a go at doing, and I will see you very soon. Thank you.